예, 본 시리즈의 맷 데이먼이 한국을 다녀갔습니다. 다른 프로그램 출연을 마다하고 저희 뉴스룸을 찾아주었습니다. 그래서 지난 7일에 저희가 인터뷰를 녹화를 했는데 오늘 목요일 대중문화 초대석의 주인공, 설명이 필요 없을 것 같은 배우, 바로 맷 데이먼입니다. 반갑습니다. Welcome to my studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
예. 워낙 이제 스케줄이 좀 타이트하게 돌아가서 개인 시간이 있었는지 모르겠습니다. 오늘 저하고 인터뷰하기 전에 뭐 하셨습니까?
I'm sorry to say I woke up in the middle of the night and wasn't feeling well, so I ended up just lying in bed today before this interview. So I had plans to go tour around Seoul, and I was very excited about it, but they all got canceled because my stomach was a little upset. I think I ate something on the plane flight.
지금은 괜찮습니까?
I'm feeling better and better with every passing minute. Yes.
예. 판문점에 들리길 원했다고 들었는데 그러면 위장이 안 좋아서 그 여행은 취소가 됐던 건가요?
Yeah, that was my plan. I wanted to go and see it because originally we had a full day here.
왜 판문점을 가고 싶으셨나요? 단지 어떤 호기심, 궁금증 때문에?
Yeah, just out of curiosity. It's something we hear about, and you know, anytime I'm in a country that has these incredible historic places of interest, I always want to try to see them if I can, if I have time.
사실은 제가 그 한국 전쟁 끝난 지 딱 3년 만에 태어난 사람인데 사실 여태까지 한 번도 판문점을 가보질 못해서 갔다 오셨더라면 감상을 대신 좀 들을까 했는데 못 듣게 됐네요.
I'm sorry to have let you down. That happens to me a lot. I grew up in a city called Boston, and Boston, Massachusetts has a lot of history, very important history going back hundreds of years. And when I tell people I'm from Boston, they tell me about these historic sites that they've visited that I've never been to. So I think that happens when you live close to these places.
알겠습니다. 본론으로 좀 들어가야 될 것 같습니다. 본 시리즈 5편, 제이슨 본 지금 개봉을 앞두고 있는데 9년 만에 본으로 돌아왔습니다. 그 제이슨 본과 제임스 본드 발음이 좀 비슷해서 그런 영향도 있는지 모르겠는데 비슷한 시리즈로 생각하는 사람들도 있습니다. 그런데 거기엔 동의하시지 않으시죠?
We went to make the first movie. Doug Liman, who directed the first movie, said the very first time I met him, he said, I don't relate to James Bond. He said I don't connect to him on any kind of emotional level. Bond is a misogynist, and he's swilling martinis and killing people and making jokes, and that's very, very much not what the Bourne character is. He's the opposite on every one of those fronts. Whereas Bourne is very distrustful of institutional power. Throughout all the 4 movies that we did, he's very skeptical about, and he's always trying to see, who's got what agenda, and he's mistrustful of them all. So he's very, very different from Bond in that way.
본 시리즈의 명장면들이 있습니다. 저는 개인적으로는 그 몇 편이든지 기억은 명확하게 나지는 않는데 좁은 공간에서의 격투 씬이 기억이 나는데 그건 실제로 합니까?
No, I do everything that I can. So if there's something like that, then I'll always step aside and let the professionals do it because it's going to look better, and you're going to believe Jason Bourne more if you believe all of those moments. But the fights I definitely do by myself because we have enough time. They can train me and teach me the choreography, and that's a really fun part of these things.
다치거나 그런 경우는 없습니까?
No. It's just fighting on film is actually exactly like dancing because it requires both partners to be exactly in the right place, or else it doesn't look good. Unlike a real fight where you have each person pursuing an independent agenda. So what they're really good about is always putting a really good fighter opposite me. And much like a dancer, so I'm a mediocre fighter. So like if I were a mediocre dancer, but you put an expert dancer with me to do the tango, they'd make me look a lot better than I am. So it's the same concept behind the fight.
이해가 가긴 갑니다. 사실 어렸을 때 그 벤허라는 영화에 유명한 그 전차 씬이 있잖아요. 그 말 타고 달리는 그 장면이 찰튼 헤스턴이 한 것이 아니라 줄리아노 젬마라는 다른 이탈리아 출신 배우가 했던 얘기를 듣고 사실은 어린 마음에는 조금 그 실망했던 그런 기억이 있는데 제가 가장 좋아했던 그 좁은 공간에서의 격투씬을 실제로 했다는 것에 대해서 제가 마음이 좀 놓입니다.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have done that chariot race either. So.
근데 이번 작품에는 시나리오 작업에도 참여했다고 들었는데 어떤 스토리를 강조하고 싶었습니까?
Great question. The difficult thing about making a sequel is that, having made a few of them now, is that you have to identify what it is people like about the franchise and give enough of that to them that they feel satisfied, but also give them enough things that are new that they don't feel like they're just watching the same movie again, and that it's worth their price of a movie ticket. We want the movies to feel like they're ripped from the headlines, that it's that they're current, and in this case we have that. We start our first big set piece. We go from the Greek-Macedonia border into an austerity riot in Greece at night. So it feels very much like the world that we're living in today, and that's what's fun, is to watch the character navigate that world.
Okay.
Sorry, it was a long answer.
너무 자세히 답변하면 스포일러가 되실 수가 있으니까 배우 자신이 더는 질문을 안 드리겠습니다. 근데 한 가지만 더 들어가 보도록 하죠. 그 에드워드 스노우 사건 이후의 상황을 이 영화에서 다뤘다고 제가 들었는데 그건 어떤 얘기일까요? 그러니까 그것과 관련한 논란 같은 것들이 영화 속에 들어가 있나요?
Yeah, I mean that's a kind of a it's not about him at all. But we are all living in the post Snowden world, and those revelations have raised these incredibly profound questions for all of us about security versus, it's what our civil liberties. What are we willing to give up for our security? And we would never try to answer that with this movie, but that is one of the themes of a very important theme of the movie.
맷 데이먼이라는 이름을 가장 크게 각인시켰던 영화가 굿 윌 헌팅이었습니다. 저희들한테는 그렇습니다. 물론 처음에 나왔던 라이언 일병 구하기도 마찬가지지만 아무튼 그 영화 때문인지 아니면 하버드대 출신이라는 이력 때문인지 늘 뭐랄까 지적이고 반듯한 이미지를 주어왔죠. 그것이 어떤 그 한계라고 생각하셨을까요? 그래서 본 시리즈에 참여하게 된 걸까요?
No, it wasn't about my own image at all. It's more about just wanting to play different types of roles and not wanting to get pigeonholed into playing one thing over and over and over again. Something like this, over the last 16 years I've done this 4 times, and that's a lot, to come back to it. But it's totally fine because I don't play a role like this when I'm making other movies, So I like to try to keep some variety in my work and in the types of movies that I can do. I love movies so much that I like to try to make all kinds of them. So I've been in silly comedies and big, historical epics, and I'll try anything. I love telling stories this way, but I wouldn't want to be limited by people's perception of me.
잠깐 화면에 그 맷 데이먼이 출연한 영화들을 잠깐 좀 흘려드릴 텐데. 영화가 사실 굉장히 다양합니다. 우주복을 입고 있는 영화도 있고, 그죠? 군복을 입고 있는 영화도 있고, 또 지금 말씀하신 대로 어떤 거 한계를 두지 않고 작품을 고를 수는 있지만 나름대로의 기준이 있다면 뭘까요? 작품을 선택하는 기준이 있다면?
Well, it's when I started out, I knew intellectually that the director was the most important person, had the most responsibility, and was the one who could affect the overall piece the most. And then by 25 years of doing this, I've just come to the conclusion that is really the most important decision, is identifying who's directing the movie. And I don't really care about the role as much anymore. If it's a great director, then I want to work with them.
그러면 다른 배우들이 맷 데이먼을 감독으로서 택하게 하고 싶은 생각은 없나요?
Someday, yes. That is definitely that's where I'd like to go. As my friend Ben has, Ben Affleck is now directing and really enjoying it, and it is the most exciting job in filmmaking because and I write and I produce and I act, but directing is just you are responsible for every single thing that goes up on the screen, and that's a great responsibility and fun too.
첫 작품은 어떤 작품이 될까요? 만일에 그렇다면 제목을 얘기할 수는 없겠지만 어떤 종류의 작품이랄까?
It would be something small. I wrote a movie a few years ago and almost directed it, but ended up giving it to Gus Van Sant to direct, and I just starred in it. But yeah, it would be something small and manageable. Steven Spielberg actually said that to me years and years ago. He said, "You're going to direct someday, and when you do," he said, "pick something very, very small your first time. Just see if you have a gift for telling a story this way."
정치적 문제라든가 아니면 오스카상에 대한 비판이라든가 이런 것은 저희가 다 들었습니다. 근데 그런 것을 거리낌 없이 나름대로 소신 발언을 한다는 것이 다른 사람들한테 좀 불편하게 느껴지는 경우도 있을 수 있는데 그런 거 개의치 않으시나요?
Well, I mean, when it comes to political comments, I think it's incumbent on everybody to be involved in the politics of their countries and of their respective countries. And in my case, I don't think I've said anything that's mean or these were all comments about people's politics, politicians' politics actually. So they're putting themselves out there, and people are debating their ideas, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think that's actually what we are supposed to do.
9.11 이후에 예를 들면 딕스 칙스라든가 하는 사람들은 부시를 비판했다가 굉장히 좀 곤욕을 치르기도 하고 그 당시 미국의 분위기가 그랬을 수 있겠죠. 근데 그런 예도 좀 있었기 때문에 그래서 드린 질문이었는데 방금 말씀하신 걸로 그냥 가름하도록 하겠습니다. 깨끗한 물의 중요성을 지속적으로 강조해 왔습니다. 그것과 관련한 활동도 하고 있는 걸로 알고 있고요. 한마디만 소개해 주신다면.
Yes, I'll try to do it very briefly. It's water.org is what it's called, and it's a foundation that I co-founded with a brilliant engineer named Gary White, who's been doing this work for his entire adult life. And a slum in India, the municipality might be piping water right underneath the street, but people don't have access in their homes. They have to go and walk and wait, one day a week at a certain place, and it's terribly inefficient. So if you can actually front them the money for the loan to connect to the existing infrastructure, you're actually buying their time back, so they can work at their jobs and pay the loans off incredibly quickly, which is really wonderful. And 94% of our borrowers are women, and it's having a really a good impact. Small, it's a huge problem.
한국은 사실은 미세먼지로 인한 공기 오염이 굉장히 문제가 되고 있는데 맷 데이먼이 방문하고 있는 요 며칠 사이에는 사실은 비 때문에 공기가 깨끗합니다. 행운하십니다. 좋은 시간 보내고 돌아가시길 바라겠습니다. 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.